You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds! Nerds! Nerds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got some family here. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining us is Brian Young.
God, I love being a turtle!
The Turtle Dork.
Paper boy, all about that paper boy.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson.
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
Wife Dork.
Would you want part of my orange?
And Brad Gullickson.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
Mouth Dork.
Bring the hammer, Daddy.
Oh, and I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warm. Warmer. Disco.
The Disco Dork. There's only one end for a fugitive. A dead end. And welcome to the It Modcast podcast.
Yay!
Wow.
Nice
Really?
variety of quotes today.
Some great screenwriting there.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. Someone's been watching Atlanta.
I just finished season 1. That is my weekend dork.
Is it high five worthy?
It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode of season 2. But I started watching it. I had to purchase the first season on iTunes a couple of weeks ago, and I think I watched like the first 3 episodes, but I really haven't had a lot of time. So this weekend, even though I was busy this weekend, I had a wedding to shoot and some other stuff, but I decided to kind of sit down, and I started watching, starting from episode 4, The Streisand Effect. And after watching that, I was just obsessed. I could not stop. It's just, I don't even know how to describe this show. It's very comedic, but there's such a creativity. Have you guys seen it?
Not yet.
No. There's such a creativity to what Donald Glover is portraying here with like the way he is showing the city of Atlanta, showing the music culture in Atlanta. He says in the piece where he says this movie is not about rappers, but it's for rappers, to really just kind of show you like that inside peek of like kind of like the day-to-day life of just not necessarily a struggling artist, but just what the lifestyle is, and just it really, because Atlanta is such a vast community that's growing in such a great way, and to really have this show set in that city.
And as far as music, Atlanta has been a mecca, almost how New York was once known as a hip hop mecca. Atlanta has become it, just that large. In
Even
its own
back
right.
in the '90s with Outkast, Jermaine Dupri, Ludacris, and stuff like that, T.I. But yeah, man, like just the way this show starts off. So basically, you have Donald Glover, Lakeith Stanfield, and
who was amazing in the show, by the way.
He's awesome. And the guy who plays Alfred Paperboy, Brian Tyree Henry, and Zazie Beetz plays Vanessa.
Mrs. Smith. Oh, okay.
But they do a great job, and Brian Tyree Henry plays the guy Paperboy, who basically kind of has like this underground hit that becomes like this really big song around the community. And Donald Glover, who's kind of a loser, he's broke. He's like going from place to place, trying to find a place to stay. That's his cousin, and he decides to manage him. So they're just trying to find ways. Okay, how can we make money to just kind of sustain our life or whatever? And he has a daughter with Zazie Beetz, and they kind of live together here and there. And they have a very interesting relationship that I really like. They're together but not together, but they're co-parenting. It's an interesting, but the one thing, the dynamic between the 3 guys, Darius, Ern, and Al, Paperboy, I love their chemistry together, like their friendship, just seeing them hang out and just go around the city and some of the encounters that they have. And then Donald Glover with Zazie Beetz and their relationship. I just got to talk about a couple of different episodes because, man, this shit was funny. And I like how it really does have some really deep social commentary wrapped in the comedy of it. One Oh, one was Value. This was the one directed by Donald Glover. He directed this episode, and it's very Vanessa centric. It just focuses on her, and the opening of the scene takes place where she's meeting up with an old friend, old colleague of her. She's kind of like this high society. She's like traveling around, and she's dating NBA basketball players, and Vanessa is like struggling, and so their lifestyles are just completely different. And that opening scene at the dinner table where they're just talking about their differences of ideas, and Vanessa is explaining to her, like, look, this is my life. I don't live the life that you have. And she really tells it to her. And I love when she picks up her phone to take the picture of her food because she has to Instagram it. It's just hilarious. Mm-hmm. But they end up kind of making up, and they end up smoking weed in the car. And then she wakes up the next day and she gets a text from her job saying that she has a drug test. So now she's rushing to try to see if she can pass this test because she just smoked weed the night before. And it's hilarious. Like that, and then she has to call Paperboy because since he's like a drug dealer, she's like, "Look, I need to know, how do I pass this drug test?" So it was. I thought it was just a brilliant, and it's so true to life. Just seeing how she interacts and has to go through that whole process of and then she takes the pee from her daughter and then puts it in the condom and tapes it to her leg. It's hilarious. It's and then BAN, Black American Network. Oh my! And that whole show plays like a discussion show. There's no cutaways to the actual narrative of the show. The whole show is basically this public access discussion show with commercial breaks, and the commercials.
If you didn't know any better, and this was the first episode that you watched of that show, you think it was
it's like a Charlie Rose show.
Yeah. There's it doesn't cut away to the normal type of narrative that Atlanta has. It's its own individual entity, separate from the rest of the series, but it falls in line with other episodes in that it's all commentary, even though it's comedic in the way that they talk about it.
It's very comedic, and I love the commentary in that show, and even the commercial breaks that they put into that show is crazy because they have this one where it's a commercial break about cigarettes, and they're talking about how great these cigarettes are, but then every person they cut the cigarette open and take the tobacco out, and they basically are just using it as wraps for their weed. Man, this show is crazy hilarious, man. And then the club, the one you were telling me about, but not even the invisible car. The dude that is trying to evade him from giving him his money, and how he fades into the wall. This show is hilarious. I can't talk highly enough about what Donald Glover, and I'm sure you guys have talked about This Is America and what Donald Glover is doing creatively in the industry, and what he's doing with this show, just combining comedy and drama and really touching on a lot of real world issues, but doing it in such an honest way and yet being very funny as well. It's brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant show. And actually, I just started season 2, and I saw the first episode.
And that opening
with that opening was wild.
And I was telling people This Is America is why everyone should be watching Atlanta, because what he does in that video is what he's doing with this show. The first episode of season 2 has been subtitled Robin season.
Yeah.
So it's that time of the year where crime in this particular area, in this city, it spikes. And so the opening of this episode is this this guy comes over his buddy's house. His buddy's playing video games. He's just shooting the shit, and his buddy tells him, "Hey, I hear the drive-through at the local spot. If you order a number 17 on the menu, you can get an eighth of marijuana. Oh, okay, let's go do that." And so you think that's okay. Now they're gonna, and it plays out like you're just hanging out with this guy who's going over to his friend's house, and then they go to this drive-through to make this transaction happen. Turns out to be true, but then they attempt to rob this. This place. Yeah. But the people inside are well prepared. And what happens after that is equivalent to the first time you watch This Is America and Donald Glover pulls that gun out and shoots that guy in the head. You're like, whoa, wait, what is this? What's going on now?
Yeah.
And the rest of the season, the rest of that episode and the rest of the season play out like how Brian was talking about the first season, but there's always that undercurrent of this particular social climate in Atlanta throughout the series, and every once in a while they'll double back to that within the narrative, but they'll still move forward and tell individual stories about the characters.
Yeah, and that was even the season finale of the first episode of the first season, The Jacket, when like they gunned down there because he's looking for his jacket, and the Uber driver has it, but then like they have that raid. And the dude has his jacket on, but I don't want to give too much away because I mean I want you guys to see it. I'm sorry, but this show has really just kind of grabbed me, and I don't know. I'm just loving all the like creativity that's really coming out of like the black community lately, like with shows like this and Insecure,
Breaking In.
Yeah. But yeah, man, like with Donald Glover, Issa Rae, it's an exciting time, especially like this year with Black Panther coming. It's just an exciting time to see a lot of this type of creativity really in the forefront of the industry, of the entertainment industry, and I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm tired. I've been sleeping on the show for a while, and everybody tells me that I would love it, and I'm sure I will. It's time to And where is it streaming? Like Hulu, FX?
Hulu has it, I want to say, also.
I think Hulu does have it. I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's probably why I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, I bought the first season on iTunes.
Okay.
Because that was the only way. That's the only way I could find the first season, because I couldn't find the first season anywhere else. And then I'm watching the second season on demand through Sling.
Okay.
So
yeah. It's worth owning. Like, I mean, because like This Is America, that show is so layered. There's, you could focus on a sight gag in a particular episode, but totally miss like something else that's happening in the background that is social commentary based. But it's all there. And if you listen to any Donald Glover, if you've seen his stand up special, he covers a wide range of topics, and he does it through humor. He'll deal with racism. He'll deal with the culture against women and all these different things that's going on as current. But he'll talk about it through comedy, and he does it the exact same way in Atlanta. But the visual aspect of it is highly creative, and in the same way that you get what you get in This Is America. Before you finish, if you're interested in Donald Glover, and you also he's a musician, his music videos. This is one particular song called Oakland. To give you an idea of the type of mind that Donald Glover has, watch that video, because it perfectly encapsulates just his range creatively, because he's singing in it, he's kind of rapping in it, but he's also acting in it. And there's a story for the video that's separate from the song, but just to watch where that storyline goes is 100% Donald Glover, and because it doesn't end like how you expect it to end. But that's him. That's him always throwing curveballs creatively, and Atlanta showcases that perfectly.
Yeah, hell of a show.
All right. Well, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, we missed you
Turtle
last
Dork.
week.
Yeah.
Your presence was your absence was felt here. So welcome back to the.
It's good to be back. Who was that from?
Your life.
It's good to
right now. The truth.
I'll be back.
Oh, it's good to be back. I don't know. It's from a movie.
I feel like that's just shit somebody says.
Yeah. Lisa, speaking of shit that somebody says, how was your week in Dork?
I'm gonna be honest, there were some speed bumps.
Uh-oh.
I'm a migraine sufferer, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I'm actually being currently stabbed from the inside of the skull right now. The barometric pressure is a swangin'.
Yeah, but you're a hardcore podcaster.
I'm tough. If I can do it sitting down in my own home, then I will participate.
Yeah.
So on, I guess this was Friday. Like, I had major migraine, so much pain. I hadn't had that much pain in like a long time, like since I had gotten my new medication, and generally that can like take the edge off. But I was just like nuts pain, and it got to, so I had to like clear the docket. I'm like, I can't work today, so I had to cancel all of that stuff. And like,
do you get the photophobia too, where it has to be lights out?
I'm light sensitive, sound sensitive.
Yeah.
and I was like denying it for like a long time. So I was just doing the absolute stupidest stuff. Like, my head hurts. I'm going outside. I'm going for a walk. You know what I mean? I'm walking around just being stubborn. Like, I just got to keep moving because if I stop moving, this is, the wave will come over me. Yeah. And then it was time for me to hit the road and go start my work day. And I was just like, it's probably dangerous to drive. I sat down and I'm like, oh no, this is painful. Yeah. And so I ended up clearing the docket. But the thing about migraines is when you're in a migraine, you feel like this is the rest of my life. But then at about 5, the migraine lifted. Yay. And I was like, hooray. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the movies.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm going to go to the movies. What's playing? So I got to see, and I'm so happy because I loved it, the RBG documentary about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. What a freaking hero. I love this tiny dynamo of a woman. Such an inspiration. So I really didn't like everything I know about the Supreme Court. I learned from Boston Legal. Yeah. Like, I'm not super plugged in to when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I'm a little embarrassed about it.
It's okay, because guess what? I didn't even watch Boston Legal.
Oh, Boston Legal's the best. Changing my weekend dork. No. So it was nice to like kind of get this insight on who this inspiring woman is. Yeah. She's still kicking around, being badass. Mm. So like the documentary does kind of like a life overview, like, and it's kind of like in like 3 chunks. So it's like, her kind of growing up and being inspired to go to law school and meeting Marty, her husband, and that part of her life, her starting her family. She has 2 kids. And then her time working with the ACLU and going before the Supreme Court to fight for gender equality, that little chunk. And then it goes to her time on the Supreme Court, being elected to the Supreme Court by Clinton and like, rocking the Supreme Court. And then Bush is elected. The power dynamic shifts. Things start getting kind of sad and bleak. But she becomes like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg we think of today, the great dissenter. And like the meme starting of Notorious RBG and her, like, the blonde lady. Who's the blonde SNL lady also in Ghostbusters?
Oh,
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon. Like, there's like an adorable scene of Ruth Bader Ginsburg watching Kate McKinnon do her impression of her for the first time, and it's just like, and she's just laughing her little octogenarian ass off. It's so sweet. So I took notes. Like, I was planning on just like soaking up the movie, but I took a ton of notes, and I just want to book report, share some of the shit that I learned in hopes that this will inspire you to go see this amazing documentary. Because obviously I can't share all of the things, and plus you have to look at her. She's beautiful. Okay, so when she went into law school, like, women going to law school, like, wasn't a thing. So in a class of 500 law students, she was one of 9 women. And she got onto the Harvard Law Review, which meant that she was one of the top 25 students in the entire class. So out of 500 students, she was one of the top 25 students. Oh, nice. While she was in law school, her husband, Marty, got sick with cancer. And so she was going to law school, raising their 2 kids, taking notes for him because he was also going to law school and helping him stay in law school while he was there, and all of this stuff. When he graduates, because he was 2 years ahead of her, they moved to New York. She goes to Columbia, and she makes the Columbia Law Review. Okay, so she has these amazing credentials. She comes out of law school and she goes and tries to find jobs, and she has these amazing recommendations. But at that time, it was A-okay for a law firm to go like, yeah, but we don't hire women.
That's nuts.
It's so bizarre.
That is fucking crazy.
Yeah, so it was hard for her to get work. She went into academia. She started teaching about, like, they requested that she teach a gender law class.
Yeah.
And then it was from there she started getting hooked up with the ACLU and started doing, defending, going to the Supreme Court and doing... and making some enormous changes to make sure that women are covered by the Constitution, just like men are. So the first time she went before the Supreme Court, it was in Frontero v. Richardson in 1973. There was this woman, and she was in the Air Force, and all of these men were getting paid for housing. They were getting benefits for housing. And she was like, oh, it must be some kind of oversight that they're all getting this and I'm not getting this. And so when she went to request, like, why am I not getting housing? They just said, you should feel lucky that we allow you to be here. And how dare you, like, you shouldn't be asking for anything because, like, you're not a man, you're not building a family. So what would you need a house for, I guess? She did have a family. She had a husband and children. But because she was a woman and not the head of the household, she couldn't get that kind of housing, like that kind of benefit. So she won, when she went before the Supreme Court. So when you go before the Supreme Court, you kind of present your case, but the 9 judges can just like interrupt you whenever they want. And they didn't even interrupt her. She was at the point where she's like, are they just humoring me? Are they even listening? But it was, I think it was something like 8-1. They voted so that woman could get her housing. So that was the first course. The first time she went before the Supreme Court. The second time was in the defense of a man who his wife died in childbirth. And so, but he wanted to raise their child more hands-on since he was the sole parent. So he went to the Social Security office to collect Social Security for his wife. And they go, oh, but that's called a wife's benefit. So you can't get it because you're a man. You're not the wife. So she played both sides of the fence to just show, like, gender equality helps everybody. To have these kinds of things be equated by gender just doesn't make sense. And in the documentary, they have like audio clips of all of these different cases, and it's fascinating because you get to hear what their judges' arguments are back to her, which are absolutely ridiculous. So there was one where, like, apparently there was some point where, like, women could just, like, bow out of jury duty. Like, so women didn't have to do jury duty on account of, like, oh, I'm so sorry, but I'm a lady. So then, women would go, like would be the accused, and they would have to go before a jury of their peers, but the jury would be all men. And so, Ruth Bader Ginsburg points this out, this discrepancy, like, this is supposed to be a jury of their peers. And one of the male judges goes, but I thought men and women are the same, right? Aren't you saying that men and women are the same? So shouldn't that be like, shouldn't that count?
Jesus.
So it was just like, it just made me want to puke. And then, like, another one, I can't even remember what the argument was, but William Rehnquist, Judge Rehnquist, goes like, isn't it enough that we have the Susan B. Anthony dollar? Like, why do women need anything else? You know what I mean? Any kind of recognition. So, like, it was just like this is like the 70s and 80s.
Shit like
it's
that makes my
positively
head spin.
Mind-boggling. But finally, when she was elected to the Supreme Court, her first one that she was as a judge of the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, total migraine brain. I can't sentence. But it was this woman who Oh, no, the first one when she was elected to the Supreme Court was VMI. Do you remember this? VMI used to be an all-boys school. And even though it was, federal funding school, it was a public school, but only for dudes. And, of course, the arguments were like, oh, guys, they can't concentrate when women are around. They're just so hormonal. And so they need to be, put so
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
So guys can't handle having girls at a military school. So they I can't remember exactly what happened. Blah blah blah. It is now a co-ed school, which is awesome. The reason I bring it up is because I remember specifically my parents being like, why would women want to go to VMI? And so they interviewed the first dozen women who went in that first class. And, they had to deal with a lot of aggressive dudes coming up to their face going why are you coming here to ruin our school? What right do you have to be here? And now, there are tons of, VMI female graduates and they're doing amazing. And the argument that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she read so it was decided clearly. And so, they pick one judge to read, the final decision. And then then the other judges, if they'd like, they could present a dissent. So she read the thing, and she's just like, there are women who can qualify, the women who can do exactly what the men are have to do to qualify to go to VMI. So women should just be able to go to VMI, and so that was awesome. So that was the first one. Her first when she became the great dissenter. So when Bush was elected, there were two more judges. He was able to put two judges up on the Supreme Court. And so then things started kind of sliding more conservatively, obviously. And so one of the things that happened was the Voting Rights Act was turned over. And she made this, presented this absolutely beautiful, she's an amazing writer and an amazing mind, presented this beautiful dissent where she has the line, turning over the Voter Rights Act is like throwing away all umbrellas just because you're not getting wet, is the idea. And her argument was trying to suppress, voter suppression is a thing that exists, and you can't ignore it. And so you can't take away the protections of voters' rights. So it kind of goes over this kind of overarching of her career. But you also get to meet her childhood friends. They call her Kiki, which I just absolutely how 50s is that. I just love it. And you get to learn about her life with Marty. Marty was this amazing supporter of her. He was always the funny one, way outgoing. And he had none of that ego where he's just there were times, for example, when he got a job in New York, he moved to New York. But when she was made a judge in Washington, D.C. by President Carter, women, reporters are going oh, it's going to be hard for Marty to stay in New York. And Marty's no, I'm moving with my wife. He was totally okay playing tambourine, he was my wife is doing this amazing thing. And he was a really accomplished tax lawyer in New York. But he was happy to give up that job when he saw that it was his wife who was really making a change in the world. You also meet her kids who are so funny. They tell stories about their mom and how unfunny she is. She was not one to make a joke. Yeah. But she loves funny people, and you can totally tell. There is this completely awkward but really adorable chunk about her friendship with Justice Scalia, Which, like, and when you see them together, and you can kind of see, like, why she digs Marty, why she just kind of likes hanging out with Justice Scalia, because he's quick with a joke, he's super boisterous, but he's just, like, a disgusting human being. Yeah. Like, and he's like one of the defenders, like, oh, the Constitution, it should, we should read it for how the people meant it, like who the original founders of the Constitution, like, we should be trying to think the way that they were thinking. And, of course, RGB's argument is, like, we the people wouldn't cover me. It wouldn't cover you guys. It wouldn't cover, it would cover Brad. So high five there.
Oh, high five.
So, like, like, we can't think that way because, and that's why the Supreme Court exists, to make sure that, the Constitution can be, made to umbrella everybody and protect everybody. Right. But like, they loved to go to the opera together, and they were like, they both appeared in an opera together, which I think is hilarious. So there, it just goes to show, like, she was a lady who was able to leave work at work and go hang out with Justice Scalia. Yeah. But I really enjoyed, like, I called Brad after watching this documentary, after spending a day, like, at home in the dark, watch Baby Driver, that's great, but mostly crying, and then leaving this documentary going, like, I'm fired up. They talked all about, like, how she's become, like, a meme, and, like, her amazing writing and her amazing dissents have kind of fired up young people and makes people want to become more active in what the power of the Supreme Court really is, because it is, like, this tremendous balance if it's handled right, and she just seems like a really cool lady. Marty passed away a while ago, and she's just all of her life is now absorbed in clearly her kids and her grandkids, but mostly, like, working for equality, going to art programs for women, or, going to the opera. She's just a really cool lady. And I think that we could all benefit from knowing this powerful woman while she's still she's still around. Alive, yeah. She's still alive. They talked to a little bit, brought up the thing where, like, why did you not step down? Why didn't you retire while Obama was president, so that Obama could name another justice, somebody who's going to be around a lot longer? Because justice, they don't have a term. It doesn't end. So, right. Whoever gets in there is going to be there for a long time. And she stated very clearly, she's like, as long as I can do my work, I'm going to do it. And to me, I just think that, like, probably at the time, it would kind of be like, you're in your 80s, you want to enjoy your life, and also, like, who knows what's going to happen next, and we want to make sure that the scales of the Supreme Court are tipped in the way of fairness and equality. But if that didn't happen, if that did happen, we wouldn't have all of these amazing dissents that she's been composing, and she's still doing invaluable work on the Supreme Court. So she's my new hero. So that's it. That's my week in dorks. So
and that
awesome.
Just came out this week. Is that?
Yeah, it's playing at the Alamo, One Loudon, if you're in the DMV area. It's also playing at the Angelica, E Street, AFI Silver.
Okay.
Oh, and this is the thing that struck me. Is, like, I've become accustomed to, like, when the credits roll by, I like to see how many women work on movies, because it's just become an area of interest for me, I guess. And, like, all of the top names on this movie, this movie is made by women, essentially, until you get to the sound people. They're all still dudes. Women, you got to break in the patriarchy of the sound department.
Yeah.
We can't let them keep all of the mics.
They don't have the ear for it, Lisa.
So, anyway.
All right.
That's it.
I'm going to check that out.
You should. It's so fun. Brad's been trying to see it, but life's been getting in the way.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing.
And I saw 2 good trailers. I've talked long enough. Brad just gave me the.
Do I get a weekend dork?
Okay, I'll
Did
go
you
fuck
have a
myself.
weekend dork?
I had a weekend
Bo
dork.
Burnham's come out with a movie about 8th grade. It looks terrifying.
Who?
Okay, your turn. Bo Burnham. He's a stand-up
guy,
guy, but he wrote a movie. It's called 8th grade. It looks like Pincushion on speed.
Oh.
It looks really sad. It looks
All
really
right.
fucking sad. Okay, bye.
Bye, wife dork. Mouth dork.
While Lisa was
Yammering on like a woman.
yeah,
What?
while Lisa was watching RGB at RBG at the One Loudon, I was at the Alamo Winchester hosting a screening of You Were Never Really Here, the Lynn Ramsey directed, Joaquin Phoenix starring thriller. Sure, let's call it a thriller. And so this was my second time watching it. We've talked about it before on our Lost Weekend podcast episode.
Yeah.
I'd encourage listeners to go back and check that out. My opinion of that film has not changed. I think it is a mini masterpiece. And at like 90 minutes, it's insane how much information is told over the course of that movie. And guess what? We're going to be talking about it in the Dorkies. I know it. It's going to happen. It's on my top 10. I don't see it getting pushed out of my top 10 unless this year really turns around.
Damn.
It's facts. 2018 is not 2017.
Damn.
Still early.
It's halfway over, man. No. And like looking at this summer, there's not a lot this summer that I'm super excited about.
Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout. I know. We talked about it. Again, we've got a fistful of summer anticipated. There's good stuff in there. Mm-hmm. It's funny, like this week where we've watched Avengers Infinity War. We couldn't find any movie to talk about on the last week, so we just did a special solo Weekend Dork episode. And this week we're talking about Breaking In because, dear God, there's nothing else going on. We should have done our... now I'm all confused, Lisa.
RBG.
RBG. Yeah. I've got all the letters mixed up. Anyway, You Were Never Really Here. It's still in the theaters. Go check it out. It has a happy ending, just like Infinity War. So, however, I want to talk about what I started watching today, right before you guys came over.
Yeah.
As I talked about in Fistful of Devastation 2 weeks back, I've been obsessing over the Criminology podcast, which is all about the Golden State Killer case. And now that they've arrested a suspect thanks to DNA and DNA websites, the show has gotten even more interesting and bizarre and compulsively listenable. I highly recommend the Criminology podcast. But what listening to that podcast has also done has awoken this thirst for true crime. And I've also been listening to the You Must Remember This podcast that they did a couple years ago on the Charlie Manson murders. It's like 12 parts. And
I just started listening to that, creeping myself out. The mamas and the papas come up way more than I expected.
Right. And then I watched on HBO documentary called The Cheshire Murders, which is about a home invasion that's horrible, depressing, and sad. It was the documentary was fine. What I want to talk about is on Netflix, just came out this week, is Evil Genius. And the full title is Evil Genius, The True Story of America's Most Diabolical Bank Heist. It's executive produced by the Duplass brothers, but each episode is written and directed by Barbara Schroeder. And I don't know if you guys remember, in 2003, there was the Pizza Bomber bank heist where a pizza delivery man walked into a bank with a bomb strapped to his neck. It was like a special lock collar. And he walks in and says, like, I've got a bomb around my neck. Give me all your money. I need $250,000. He actually had this note. And it wasn't like a short, tiny little note saying, like, give us all your money. It was this long dissertation that he was supposed to give to the bank manager. And the bank manager actually just acquired everything out of the drawers, which was about $8,000. And I'm not going to spoil the entire series because guess what? I've only watched 2 hours of it. It's 4 hours long. So what happens is he walks in the bank. He's got this bomb. He walks out with $8,000. He has a cane, but it turns out that this cane is a shotgun cane.
It looks badass.
It's a handmade shotgun cane.
It's like if Charlie Chaplin was James Bond.
Well, and in fact, when he walked out of the bank, he was twirling the bag and the cane like Charlie Chaplin, and the bank heist, the bank teller made that connection. So and where this bank was on this freeway, you could easily escape into the neighboring states of Ohio, from Pennsylvania. But he goes over to the McDonald's, and he's following a set of clues that he has that the person who strapped this bomb around his neck has given him. And he goes to a sign by McDonald's, lifts up a rock, and there's a note telling him where he's got to go next to find the keys. He needs 4 keys to unlock the bomb around his neck. So as he's going to the next location where the clue is, which turns out to be in a coffee can next to a stop sign on the freeway or on the parkway, the police pull him over. And they handcuff him. They sit him down on the street, and and he's like, "Hey, I've got a bomb on my neck. You need to go get these keys." And they're like, "What? You got a bomb?" And then they open his shirt, and they're like, "Oh shit, he's got a bomb." So they all back off. They close down the streets. They call the bomb squad unit, and because they've closed down the streets, they've created a traffic jam. The bomb squad unit's 10 miles out. Not enough time. Bomb goes off, blows the dude's head off.
You can actually see it happen. It's really scary and gross.
And I don't necessarily like that. I know they're documenting an event, but I don't like to see somebody die on camera. But you do. That is a word of warning. Early on in this documentary, you see him explode.
It's like through like a grainy 80s VHS type.
It's a dash cam. Yeah. It's a dash cam. Yeah. And so he dies.
Totally.
They bomb squad comes.
So he wasn't bullshitting. He someone that really.
Yeah,
but he was talking like he was bullshitting. It's really exciting.
So while he's sitting down, he's like, "Hey guys, I'm not lying." He's not agitated or anything. But then it starts beeping, and he starts to get agitated. Plus, he has this shotgun cane. Like, what's the deal there? And that shotgun cane was loaded. So they, get the collar off. They have to decapitate him to get the collar off.
Offends his family.
Family's obviously not happy about that. And, they're investigating it. They follow these clues. They discover that he's a pizza delivery man. He answered a call at the pizza place. The pizza place was like, "Hey, I need 2 large pepperoni pizzas over at this radio tower." "Sure, I'll go out to the radio tower." And the police go to where that radio tower is, and it looks like, yeah, he was there. And that's where they believe he had the collar put on him. Okay, a couple days go by. Another guy at the pizza, his buddy at the pizza parlor.
Wait, this is documentary or movie we talking about?
It's a documentary.
This actually happened in 2003.
This shit sounds nuts.
Hold on. His friend at the pizza parlor dies.
Mysteriously.
3 days later, he maybe overdoses, maybe kills himself, maybe was murdered. The autopsy is inconclusive. He definitely died of drugs. And now they're like, okay, well, this guy died. Just before he was about to be questioned by the police on Monday morning, he dies on Sunday.
What year did this
2003.
happen?
2003.
So Saw had already came out, right?
Yeah. It was about that time.
This shit sounds like...
So then 3 weeks go by. And this is all in the first episode. 3 weeks go by, and the FBI's involved, the ATF's involved. And, the state police get a phone call from this guy named Bill Rothstein. And he says, "Hey, you need to come to my house because there's a woman you want to talk to, and there's a dead body in the freezer." And the cops are like, "What? Yeah, no. This woman's killed her boyfriend, and I've helped her wrap him up and put him in the freezer. I'm scared. She wants me to put him in a wood chipper. Please come to the police station." They're like, "Why don't you come? Please come to my house. Why don't you come to the police station and we'll get this sorted out, Bill?" And now we meet this woman, Marjorie Deal. And in 1984, she was on trial for killing her boyfriend. And in fact, 5 men she's known have all died under violent or mysterious circumstances. Where her house is is next to the radio tower where the
pizza
bomb
was called
collar
to.
where the pizza was called to. And so that's where I'm at right now in the documentary.
What I want to know is what kind of pizza did they order?
They said, I can't remember. I think it was like sausage or something.
This is on Netflix. What's the name of it?
Evil Genius.
It is really, it sucks you in.
Lisa was working this morning, and I started watching it because Rob Hunter, Film School Rejects, did a really awesome review of it and was just saying, you got to watch this thing. So I started watching it. I watched 2 hours of it, and I was like, okay, Lisa, we got to start from the beginning. And Lisa's now seen almost 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours of it. So after you guys leave,
It's
I
multiple
gotta finish.
episodes, or
Yeah,
it's just
four
a long?
episodes.
No, it's 4 episodes,
Okay.
but it basically feels like a one long story.
Okay.
And it starts with this one of the people making the documentary has been having a decade-long correspondence with this woman in prison, Marjorie Deal.
And she still denies having any involvement with any of this.
Well, at the start of the documentary, she does.
Plot thickens.
Yeah, plot thickens, Lisa. And he's been trading letters back and forth for over 10 years with this woman, trying to get to the bottom of it. Because what's interesting is this guy, he was in Brooklyn, and he was watching all this on the news, and this whole thing with Bill Rothstein. Because at one point, the FBI say, oh, Rothstein and Deal, even though Deal goes to jail for this frozen body in her freezer, they don't connect the bombing to Deal. And the Brooklyn guy, he's like, this is too weird. I need to go down to Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to start making a movie. And he brings his camera, and he goes and he knocks on Bill Rothstein's door, because Bill Rothstein doesn't go to jail. He gets he gets 2 years of jail for tampering with a corpse. But she goes to prison for murdering this man, who was her boyfriend.
Shotgun.
Shotgunned. Yeah.
Horrible
shotgun.
way to go.
And Bill Rothstein is like a carpenter and a metallurgist. So
What? I missed that detail.
So you start to think, like, did Rothstein and this Deal woman, they made the collar for this guy?
Yeah.
But
And she's supposed to be like some kind of crazy manic genius.
yeah, both of them, Rothstein and her, have like incredibly high IQs, and Rothstein's like super full of himself. But yeah, and then
He's got the kind of beard of a
I won't say
smugman.
to Lisa, but something happens to him too. And also more bodies start showing
More
up.
bodies. I'm so
And
excited.
again, 2 hours in of a 4-hour documentary.
And was this ever a podcast? Like,
I mean,
It
American
feels
Life
like
type
one.
shit?
It feels like watching Serial.
sure, yeah.
I can't believe that I was totally unaware of this case. And,
Me too.
and you don't remember hearing about this,
No.
Brian. You don't remember hearing about this?
2003,
Lisa
no.
didn't. Yeah, it's just so bizarre. And
well-
like when this guy Brian Wells, who's the guy with the bomb collar, he goes in again. He has this bomb on his neck that was armed. He has this shotgun cane. And while he's waiting patiently for the teller, he like takes a lollipop out of the basket and he's sucking the lollipop.
He's got to
waiting
be
in
under
line.
some kind of like crazy drugs, don't you think?
So here's the thing. They talk about how he loved treasure hunts, and every year the local newspaper would have a key hunt in the city, and he would try to find the keys and win the contest. I'm thinking that Brian Wells and Marjorie Deal and Bill Rothstein had some kind of relationship, and they were like,
And they
I've
took
got
advantage
a really great key hunt for you. We're going to put a bomb on your neck, and you're going to do these things, and you're going to follow these clues, and if you do it all right, you'll live. And like I think they've manipulated his sense of adventure and mystery and puzzles.
Yeah,
To
because
rob a
there was.
bank?
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause-
to
What
rob
the
a
fuck
bank.
did the bank robbery had to do with? That was just
Well,
them getting some money,
There-
extra money out of it.
I don't want to spoil anything, but might be
I want to
some
watch this shit
connections.
like right now.
I know,
Like right now.
I know. When you knocked on the door, that's what I was watching, and I was like, "Oh, Darren's here."
You should have said, "Hey D, check this shit out."
Because I didn't
Oh
want
my
to
God.
spoil the middle part.
Damn it.
we also watched the Gary Shandling documentary.
Yeah,
but that one's not so much of a mystery. It was his heart.
Oh,
Oh, sad.
Spoiler.
Jesus, Lisa. That is a 2-part documentary, The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling, directed by Judd Apatow. It's on HBO. It's 4 hours plus long. It's also really great.
It's a really sweet story.
Yeah.
He seemed like a really neurotic.
Interesting
sweet guy.
Interesting guy.
damn, that's right. He died.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting week of watching weird documentaries, but incredibly compulsive.
You went to some dark places, motherfucker.
Well, I'm living that right now.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I don't know if I can sustain that.
There was before Brad and I started dating, he had like a thing with like true crime, and I remember specifically him giving me the tour of the store and showing me the true crime section and being able to point out like specific books. I was like, ooh, this guy's creepy. And then,
You've never told me that, really?
Yeah.
I gave you a tour of the store?
You gave me a tour of the store.
But you worked at the store before I did.
I can't remember if you had moved the section. I remember you. I don't know if it was a store tour or you were just showing me fucking creepy books you liked.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah,
I liked all that stuff.
But yeah, so he was into true crime before we got together, but now like this interest has resurfaced and he's gotten me into it too. So now I'm listening to that fucking Manson story.
So the Golden State Killer story, they
I was telling my hairstylist, the lady at the salon, all about it.
They found him through the DNA and by submitting the DNA evidence that they had to the online sites.
Ancestry.com.
Was it Ancestry.com or was it? I think it was a lesser site.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I got the information from you.
And they traced it to a guy in the 1800s, and then from the 1800s family tree, they went through 1,000 names, and they got to these two suspects, and then they picked up that dude's trash, and that's how they arrested him, right? Well, now they've done the exact same thing with the Zodiac killer. What? Because there is some DNA associated with the Zodiac, and they've now submitted it to these ancestry websites. So it's conceivable that a name could come up to implicate who the Zodiac killer was. Yeah,
that's amazing.
But what's interesting, though, is it's really not nearly as big as the Golden State Killer, because the Golden State Killer killed more people than the Zodiac, and sure as hell raped a lot more women.
That's nuts.
So anyway, true crime. It's a weird place to live.
But you have to keep that in mind when you go send away to get your DNA figured out, as somebody can use it to track down your murderous relatives.
Oh,
Minority
their past. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shit. I know what my weekend dork for next week is going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The second we stop recording, I'm finishing this.
I might watch quietly in the corner. Is that it for you? Weekend dork?
That's
all right. Damn, I want to watch. I genuinely want to watch that right now.
The thing is, it's the kind of thing where if it was a movie, you wouldn't believe it. You're like, oh, this is way too contrived.
That's what I was asking, because I had forgotten at one point that you said it was a documentary, because that shit it sounded like Saw.
It's directed by the Duplass brothers.
No. It's produced by the Duplass
Whatever.
brothers. Barbara Schroeder directed it.
Okay.
Oh, I'm giving
I said
credit to men.
I said that at the beginning of my Weekend Dork, Lisa.
I'm so sorry.
You checked out.
And for a second.
Which you did. Yeah, you literally checked all the way. You lifted your mic like way up here.
I wanted to eat my orange.
Oh, that's what that
I didn't
was.
want to.
Okay.
I didn't want to eat an orange into the
See, listeners,
microphone.
We respect you.
So that eating you hear is Darren.
Yep, it's me. For my weekend dork, I was on Netflix as well. I wish I would have checked that out as opposed to what I did end up watching. So some of you may or may not know that on this past week on Netflix, one of their newly released films was the latest film from John Woo, director John Woo, who has become a point of contention amongst, at least between myself and Brian. If you're new to the podcast, I'll have you know that John Woo of the 90s and the 80s was hugely influential over my life.
Over all geeks.
Yeah. I mean, but literally, I was in the military because of John Woo.
Because of Hard Target.
No, because of Hard Boiled. Not Hard Target. Like, my life took a very specific path because of, me seeing Hard Boiled for the first time. And so I have a real, I don't know, like, he was someone who was special to me. Then, like, his output started changing when he came over from Hong Kong to make films in the U.S. His movies have been less than stellar. They went from the type of films like, yo, Brian, you got to see this friggin' movie, Hard Boiled, or the type of movies that you want to expose people to. It went from that to like shit like Paycheck, and so he had went back over to Hong Kong and made some more films. most notable to me, in my opinion, is his Red Cliff film, the uncut 4-hour version, not the theatrical version. Like the 4-hour version of Red Cliff is a great movie. It's not even a good John Woo movie. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed that film, and to see him tackle like a period drama and move away from like his heroic bloodshed films, which is what would make me become a fan of his. I was curious, but still interested, and I was genuinely entertained. I mean, there were some action set pieces that didn't involve guns, but his inventiveness in his choreography, whether it be with the camera or the actors, was still something that I found refreshing, for that particular film. And that was for me, it was a return to great Woo. But then there was another movie that he did with starred Michelle Yeoh that was really bad. And this was in Hong Kong. This wasn't even in the US. So anyway, Manhunt was supposed to be, or it's being called, like a return to form or a return to the heroic bloodshed subgenre that Woo was like the master of. And it's a remake of either it's a remake or it's an adaptation of a Japanese crime novel, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that the actor in the original version, it is was a movie, because the actor in that original version was John Woo's favorite actor, and he would fashion Chow Yun-fat's character for Tequila after this Japanese actor. Well, anyway, I'm sad to report that Manhunt is a horrible movie. It's not even a bad John Woo movie. Like so I see the trailer, and
I saw it too.
Seeing the trailer, I kind of felt like, you know what, this doesn't look good.
I was like, I'm gonna leave this to Darren.
Right. So then these reviews start coming out online, and they're saying how, the story is a little hokey or whatever, ridiculous, but Woo's back as far as action. And I go, okay, and I read this from more than one site, and I'm like, okay, so maybe there's something there. Maybe that trailer is just one of those trailers that doesn't properly sell the film. Man, it feels like, so John Woo, for those of you who don't know, if you've ever seen a modern action film where someone was dual wielding a pistol, a gun in each hand, and flying through the air in slow motion while shooting, or if there's a dove or a white bird that flies in the frame, or if there's a Mexican standoff with pistols, 9 times out of 10, that image or that action or that thing that you saw was influenced by John Woo. These trademarks are, all part of his, his filmography, and slow motion and stop and freeze frames. And so it would get to a point after Woo came out and pioneered these things, then other films would do it, and sometimes it would come off as a homage, but then other times it just come off as someone who just doesn't get it, how he does it. And this film feels like that. It feels like the latter. It feels like a first-time filmmaker who is inspired by John Woo's older output and is making his homage to that today. Now, but he's not doing it in a way where he's taking, inspiration from what John Woo did and crafting a unique type of action set piece, being inspired by Woo. They're just taking the shit that he did back in the days, and then and I'm saying there's this imaginary someone who's making this movie, but John Woo is basically taking what he did back in the day and doing a lower quality version of that. First of all, it's shot digitally, so it looks really cheap, and
digital can look good now. We've talked about that. Roger Deakins.
I didn't say because it's shot digital. I said it's shot digitally, but it looks really cheap. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look like there was any post processing done on any color correction. Everything just looks so sterile, and it doesn't look right with the stuff that he's doing, when he does slow motion and then all that. It feels dated now. It doesn't even feel like a proper wink to the audience that, yeah, we know this is what I'm known for back in the day. I still got it. Doesn't even feel like that. It feels like he's just trying to do the same thing, but in a way that makes it feel dated. And then outside of the action sequences, they weren't lying when they were talking about the story. So this guy is framed, this lawyer is framed and then there's this conspiracy about this group who's manufacturing this experimental drug that makes you, it would have weaponization implications, like you could use it to make a super soldier or some shit like that. Like, so it starts out like a mistaken identity type film, but then like with the lawyer being framed for a murder he wakes up one morning and there's a dead woman in his bed and he's framed for that murder. So he's trying to clear his name. In clearing his name, he uncovers the conspiracy with this company and this super serum or whatever. But like when they get like, even when they transition to like the science fiction elements of it, like it's not a graceful trend. They don't ease you into that. The dialogue is super heavy handed. My quote from the opening of the episode is from the movie. The performances are awful, and the action is bad. It's not good.
Are there doves though?
There are doves. There's one I think may flies in between these two guys who are facing off. And I think one of them actually accidentally gets shot because it flies in front of the dude or whatever. But they're there. And the thing is, done the right way, that can come off just fine. It can come off as like, it can come off like a homage. You can, if you frame it the right way or do it at the right time. But the way that it's done in the movie, it's almost like it's almost like a spoof. It's like the birds literally get in their way, and it's not like in any other film where the doves are in the background and it's symbolic of whatever. It's not like that. It's like it feels like one of those spoof movies where they spoof that, and the doves. The joke is they get in the way, like, and it comes off
John
like
Woo movie.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's bad, and I was disappointed because. I've grown as an audience as far as watching action films. Obviously, my love for those types of films, the Hong Kong films and Japanese cinema, my Hong Kong love stems specifically from John Woo. And I would see when the U.S. and the Western influence would be pulled from his films, and I would go, yeah, if you like that, you got to check out this guy. Like, he started all of that. So to see him go from someone who was pioneering things and would inspire filmmakers, who would inspire a lot of what you see in The Matrix, like all of that two-fisted slow motion shit in The Matrix, that's all John Woo. That's all inspired by him. But to see and Brian has this conversation with me, like, man, everybody can't be George Miller coming back at, his age of 70 and doing something like that. And I get that. But it's like when Scorsese says, all right, I'm doing the Irishman or whatever. Uh-huh. And because of Scorsese and the films that he's made in the past, like if they weren't talking about like de-aging people or whatever, like, but to the mention of Scorsese doing a new movie, when they just say, when the first thing you heard was Scorsese's redoing the Irishman, before you read the CGI shit, you go, oh shit.
Well, how about John Woo now coming back with Lupita Nyong'o to remake The Killer?
Before I heard the news of that before I saw Manhunt, and I was excited. I posted on social media, oh shit, Brian, like, look, what do you think? But then I see Manhunt and I go, I hope that a lot of what we get in the Manhunt is because of the budget and his production team or whatever. But again, as a director of a film, you got say so over, and the dialogue, the weak dialogue and the heavy-handed dialogue. I mean, that's almost par for the course for John Woo. So that's got to be him. But he just needs to be surrounded by, if he's going to do this remake, I'm not of the mind that, oh shit, that's sacrilege. He can't remake The Killer. It's a classic, because at the end of the day, the original Killer still exists. It's still on my shelf, and I'll be able to watch it if this one turns out to be bad. But with Lupita Nyong'o, having her play the character of the killer or the cop, they haven't really said which character she's going to play, but having her in the film and seeing John Woo direct a female action star is intriguing to me, because there are two in the Manhunt. There are two sibling Japanese assassins in the movie that are barreling towards the end of the film alongside of the main guy, and those characters are just poorly written. But like, Wu has the ability to, I mean, if you can make Chow Yun Fat such an iconic action figure in films, then I have no doubt that he can do it with Lupita Longo. He deserves too, but she deserves a better script than what was in Manhunt, and she deserves a better director than what John Woo did with Manhunt. And so I hope that whatever he has planned for The Killer is leagues above Manhunt, and I hope that Lupita Longo ends up, and the rest of the cast end up pulling something great out of him and inspiring him, because I don't know, like it's just a bad movie. It's just a bad John Woo movie, and I'm sad. I'm heartbroken. But I kind of knew it from the trailer. Trailer.
John Woo hasn't made it, like you're saying. He just has not made a good movie in a long time.
It's one of those things, like, I don't know. Like I tell Brian all the time, like, oh man, I don't mess with that dude no more. But at the same time, like I still feel sad that I still care.
John Carpenter comes back. I'm watching whatever he does, and I'm excited about it. Even though his last film was The Ward, and it is hot garbage.
Yeah,
but, people can survive hot garbage.
Yeah.
We're all capable of hot garbage. We've had a few hot garbage episodes.
I'm working on one right now. I talked about RPG for like 27 minutes.
So this episode is the Manhunt episode? We're hot garbage?
No. We've had worse. We've had way worse.
Okay. So yeah, I was disappointed in that movie. And your mileage may vary, again, because there are reviews out here that are championing this film, and I'm glad those people got to enjoy it, and maybe you might too. So
Brian, are you going to watch it?
I'm biased.
I'll watch it.
All right.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Oh, he has to watch because we have to talk about it.
Okay, well,
make sure it's not
Brian,
just me.
after you watch it, based on your two reactions, I'll decide if I watch it.
Right?
Yeah.
I love early John Woo.
Oh,
I love John Woo all the way through Hard Target.
I even dig Hard Target.
Face Off.
Yeah,
I love Face Off.
I love John Woo all the way through Hard Target.
Face Off, really?
It's no Con Air, Brian.
Face Off hasn't aged well for me.
Man.
Same, I agree.
I loved it.
I loved Face Off
back in the day. Yeah,
but then I can't remember. I was at a party and we did it was Face Off Con Air that they showed. And I was like, I'm not going to do any of this party business. I'm going to watch these two movies because that's what I do. Yeah. And I came away going like, Con Air is great.
It's a better movie than Face Off.
I love Face Off, man.
Okay.
So you're going to love Manhunt. All right, so that's going to do it for our Weeks of Dork. As Brad mentioned earlier, our review cast for this episode is for Gabrielle Union's Breaking In. This film is directed by James Mcteague. Mm-hmm. The director of V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
And what else is
Ninja Assassin?
Wow.
He did Ninja Assassin. He also worked on Sense8, the Wachowskis' Netflix series, which that was a series, at least the first season, I really liked. I didn't finish up on the second season. But anyway, this is his newest film. When we come back from the break, we'll be reviewing that one. And yeah, maybe we got some things to say. So stay tuned. We'll be talking Breaking In. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And it is time for our review cast for Breaking In, 2018 film starring Gabrielle Union, directed by James Mcteague, who is the director of such classic films like V for Vendetta, The Raven, the one with John Cusack, right?
Yeah. Nevermore.
And
that's what I have to say about
wow.
He also directed Survivor with Pierce Brosnan and Mila Jovovich. Yeah.
That's a movie? Like it came out?
Yeah, I watched half of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh. It was good?
No.
Oh, okay. Any other gems?
He did The Invasion, which is the Nicole Kidman, Daniel Craig Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie.
I mean, like any other good ones, like any other notable films.
No.
Oh.
Breaking In.
He did Ninja Assassin. He was the second unit director on Speed Racer and The Matrix Revolution.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Wachowski's grad. He's one of their proteges.
He is. He worked on Dark City as second assistant director. So he's come from a good pedigree, but then
making movies is so hard.
It is. But you know what? There's some enjoyment to be found in here, I'm sure. So let's do our the good and the bad, the ugly. Brian, unfortunately, you were not able to.
Why didn't you see it, Brian?
Well, I wasn't here last week, so I wasn't sure what the film was.
Oh my God, we're just a phone call away. Friends. We're super tight friends.
No, I'm sorry.
When you could have sent the question when you sent that email with your script. By the way, what's our review cast movie?
Oh yeah, I wasn't thinking about that, man.
Yeah.
He's got his brain in the books. He's got school stuff.
I got my final exam this week. I got a lot of stuff going on, man.
No, the reality is he knew the only option this weekend was breaking in, and he was just like, I don't want to know the answer.
But the weird thing is, I probably could have saw it today, or the day that we're recording, which is Sunday, because my mother wanted to go see it for Mother's Day. But
you love her.
But I'm here now.
Oh, wow. You could have brought her over.
I wouldn't have made the show today. I saw the movie, but I wouldn't be able to report back because I would have literally been in the theater right now.
We got your excuses. We appreciate them.
I guess. All right. Well, Lisa,
yes.
Brad, and Disco saw the movie, so we're gonna do our round robin. Since you didn't see it, we have to skip you, Brian, and move to the young lady. Lisa,
yes.
Let's start with you. What about the good of the film?
I'm gonna just lay this down on the table.
Bam.
I love Billy Burke. I like the fact that he's kind of made a career of being the best thing in a terrible movie. Charlie Mustache.
Oh, that's the
Twilight.
guy.
What?
Driving Angry? No, Drive Angry.
I didn't see Drive Angry.
Well, he's great in that, and that movie's great.
He's got a great face. He's got a good intensity. He's got like a hot dad vibe, and I like it. I liked the concept of this movie. I like the idea of, like once you've crossed a mom and you've threatened her kids, there's nothing that she can't do. I thought that the opening fight scene on the patio with the wine glass.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty exciting. I loved the hand to hand to mom fights. I really enjoyed. And I liked how at the end it was like whack-a-mole, like dead people are just popping up again. Like, oh man, you were full on run over by an SUV, and you have more shit to do. I'm so proud. Like, I'm proud that you got up. That it's really brave. So I really enjoyed that. Mm-hmm. That's my good.
All right, Brad.
I mean, I love the setup, and we've talked about it on this podcast many times. We're Siege film fans. Our last Fistful just a couple days ago was a fistful of Keep Out.
Yeah.
And, Assault on Precinct 13. This is a setup that is catnip to me, and I really liked Gabrielle Union. I've been a fan of hers since, what was it, Bring It On and Bad Boys 2.
Yeah.
And I thought she had a power to her character. I wasn't sure at first. I thought she was going to be able to pull off. But when the film sort of flips and reveals her to be a serious force, I liked all of that.
Brad kept on going like, oh, they're going to do some kind of reveal where she's like ex-military or something. And I'm really glad that they didn't. I'm glad that they're like, she's a mom and moms are resourceful.
I still kind of wish it was, The Rock is always a special ops guy.
I think that's so lame.
But I think I would love to see, you don't see a movie where like, oh, you go in, the tagline's payback is a mother, and we're going to reveal that this woman is also a badass cop, a badass soldier.
I think that's lame. I like the message that all women are badass if you push their buttons, the fact that once she has that laser focus of I need to keep my kids alive, then she can use her upper body strength to hang from the stairs like a ninja.
Yeah.
I'm acting it out for the podcast. Legs up. She's got no shoes on. She's curling her toes.
She dominates.
She
those
never
dumbbells.
steps on glass. That's what I was waiting for the whole time. They make a big deal of her taking her shoes off. And then I'm like, oh shit, she's going to be stepping on some glass. Yeah. But She's the mom.
So,
Moms never
I
step
don't
on
know.
glass.
I liked how she went into go mode.
Yeah.
And I agree with Lisa. I thought Billy Burke was great. I also liked the skittish, not so sure of himself criminal played by Levi.
Did you really?
Whedon. I did like him.
That is hilarious.
Why? Is he coming up in your bad later?
Perhaps.
Well, I have a criminal in the group that I'd like to talk about in my bad. I liked him. I thought he was just the right amount of Weasley and insecurity that you need from a gang member that's going to ruin everything for Billy Burke. So yeah, that's my good. I thought the kids were solid. Again, I thought like the action for the first half was solid.
Okay.
What about the last 15%?
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, all right. As for my good, I think Gabrielle Union was good. She was the best thing about the film for me. Yeah, that's my good.
Oh,
wow.
Man. No details? What
well,
did you particularly like about her performance?
I like her. I mean, I like her ability to sell that character, to sell the mom who is not a ex-SF or ex police officer or whatever. Like she's just a regular mom. I like her ability to sell that. But I would be lying if I said that early on in the film I was thinking like, okay, what if she says like, what if are they going to reveal that she's a cop or something like that?
It felt like that was going to happen.
I thought that was going to happen, but it didn't. But to go to what you said, Lisa, so when that ultimately didn't show up at the end of the film, by the end of the film, I was like, okay, well, it's still cool because that just means like she just did all she did because she was just a mother and she wanted to, her family's safety. So. But I did that did cross my mind. But she sold it for me. Yeah.
To rip the good back to me again, Darren.
Okay.
The opening scene with her father, when the film opens up and he's on his bed and he opens his drawer and he pulls out the watches and he gets ready to go out jogging and then of course he gets hit by that truck. Yeah. I thought the way that Mcteague shot that sequence of her father's eventual murder was also really well done.
Yeah, that really made me jump. Like the
same.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's like a cheap effect. You're always going to jump when suddenly a car strikes a human with a loud sound. What I appreciated was the composition of those brief sequences of him getting prepped and going about his day and introducing the mystery behind the father character.
Yeah.
I like how they put the like radio program in the beginning. Like, I don't know exactly what the motivation was to have the dad character not be that so great a dude. I don't know why. I guess so we're kind of okay with him being dead, I guess. But I guess maybe because to give him motivation for having all of this
that money in his safe, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. What about the bad? Brian, do you have any?
No.
There must have been some kind of bad that kept you away from just running out to the theater and seeing this.
I think it was that Rihanna song in the trailer.
I love that Rihanna song. I'm going to kick one of the legs out of your chair. I really enjoy it. I've never listened to the whole thing.
I like the song, but it's kind of like too on the nose a little bit. I don't know. Anytime they use pop songs in trailers, it's just really to bring in the young audience.
Oh,
like,
that must be me.
You can just see them just trying to sell a film to like the younger crowd.
I agree with that when it's like supposed to be like an artsy film, but this is supposed to be like a Soup's mainstream.
And that's not even a new Rihanna
film.
song. That's like an old Rihanna song. That's what I found. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I don't even know what song you're talking about.
The song in the trailer.
It's called Hard.
The trailer?
I don't remember.
You'll see it.
Was so hard. So I only remember that little thing and I don't know any of the words. I've never listened to it all the way through.
Oh my God. So all right. Well, Lisa,
I've got a master's degree in music.
You do. Let's start with you as far as the bad.
I'm tired of the scene of the young kid sitting at the console of the thing and going like, Oh, like he knows all of the specs of all of the cameras and stuff.
Well, because he knows how to operate an iPad.
Because he's young, so he's just like, I've got this whole complicated system figured out right now. Look, Mom.
I thought as far as precocious children go, he wasn't terrible.
He was a good actor. I thought he was cute, and I thought he had some timing.
He had the balls to shoot that guy when it came down to...
Lightly shoot, because he popped right back up. He just kind of lightly shot that guy.
Yeah, well, that's, you know...
he missed, right?
No, he hits Billy Burke. He shoots Billy Burke.
I thought Billy, he turns his head, and you can see the bullet hit the wall. It was a bullet hit. Yeah, he turns his head, and he hit the bullet.
At least he pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty brave. I thought both of the goons... all three of the goons were super laughable. There's the guy from the beginning who Gabrielle Union takes out immediately, the guy with the dog tags. And she gags him, and she just gives up 80% of the information right away. Which I thought was soup lame.
I mean, he got impaled by
He had a hole in his titty, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, once, to me, if I had a hole in my titty, I would be like... I'm not telling you anything because
you're a woman.
Ow.
You're a woman. Dudes, we're not used to having holes in our titties.
Oh,
that's
not
true.
saying that women are, but that's a sensitive...
Oh, yeah, so you think the male boobie is more sensitive than the female
I don't want
boobie?
a wine glass bottom in my titty. I know. No.
That did look super
I would have told you
ouchy.
everything. I would have told you
really?
I'd have been like, by the way, have you seen Infinity War yet? I'll tell you all about that shit too. I'd spoil everything for you.
Yeah, so he was soup lame. Then I thought that the kind of odd couple of the bleached hair and the neck tattoos.
Duncan, that was the bad guy. That was the crazy dude, the psycho dude. Duncan.
Yeah, played by Richard Cabral.
Yeah, I think Richard Cabral has a great face, but I just think that he just didn't have the script to support his crazy vibe.
Oh, he's terrible in it. He's terrible.
And then the character of Peter, who's just I thought we were just going to take the money, man.
No, that's not Peter. That's
Peter was the dog tag.
Sam.
Yeah.
Levi Meaden. I liked him. Frosted Tips.
I did like his T-shirt. He had the T-shirt that's an asymmetrical T-shirt with a kind of a stitched cross on it. I thought that was kind of hip. I would buy that T-shirt at an H&M.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought. I had no patience for them.
I agree. Yeah. All right. That's it for your bad?
Probably not.
All right.
We'll roll back.
What about you, B? What is your bad that could possibly inspire Lisa?
I mean, it amounts to nothing. It's a terrible, terrible ending. And, she starts to take over, but then through a series of dumb-ass decisions / coincidences...
Yeah.
Plot script manipulations. She should have so easily gotten away at, multiple times.
Yeah.
And because of really dumb decisions is brought back into the crosshairs of Billy Burke. And the ending ultimately being a showdown between not Billy Burke and Gabrielle Union, but the Duncan character and Gabrielle Union, because he was so painful to watch. I mean, I really, really, really disliked his performance.
Yeah,
so goofy. Mm-hmm. That it was a bummer because we saw it at the Alamo, and it wasn't a packed theater, but there was a healthy amount of members in the audience, and they were into it. And when Gabrielle Union puts her thumb through that dude's titty hole,
oh yeah,
the crowd was yeah, there was excitement to see Gabrielle Union kicking ass. And when she was kicking ass, the film was fun, but again, the ending starts to not allow her to kick ass. After the moment that Lisa was miming for us, after she is hanging onto the side of that staircase, she doesn't really get to do anything cool from that point forward. And actually, thank God for her kids.
There's also some really terrible movie sneaking in this, where that's one of my pet peeves, where there are 3 people in a room, and one, by the powers of sneak alone, just goes completely undetected.
There's that one shot where Billy Burke is coming out of the kid's bedroom, and it's into a long hallway, and then after he turns left, he goes to look left. But if he had turned right, he would have seen Gabrielle Union go.
The entire audience laughed out loud at that shot right there. Yeah.
Just
There's another moment when they open the safe, and Sam walks in the room and goes like, "What did I miss?" And like you said, everybody's in that room. Nobody sees that girl just drop down and pick up that thing off the floor.
That was an awful.
Everyone's right there, and she just drops down. Because everyone looks at Sam, but you still don't see her do that? Like, that's nuts.
You would sense the movement.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, there was some bad sneaking in the film. I agree.
And the 2 times in the film, they try to introduce another party into the story so they can fill out the runtime. And both instances are so utterly and painfully cliche.
Yeah.
You're talking about the realtor?
The realtor and the husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I will start with my bad. It's like the film felt cliche. Like I wish that with Gabrielle Union, as I said, as for my good, with her being a capable performer, I wish that they would use this capable performer in a siege film or home invasion film and just do something different with it. Just at least in 1 or 2 areas, like do something different. But there was nothing for me. I just didn't feel like it added anything new to that particular subgenre.
If you're making a contemporary siege film, I hope you watch You're Next, right?
Yes.
Like you watch You're Next and you go, whoa. That's how you take an incredibly cliche story and do something new and interesting with it. And for a hot minute, I thought, Payback as a Mother was indicating we were going to get something along those lines. And I don't necessarily need the film to be R-rated, but like at least take this PG-13 rating to a Taken level.
I would have liked to see more scuffling, less sneaking.
I want to see something.
That was my thing where I found the movie boring, because not just sneaking, but a lot of the shots in the film were of the guys walking down the hallways looking like, did I hear something down here or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, dude, this ain't Paranormal Activity.
And as far as the director James Mcteague, he's done V for Vendetta, and which a lot of people like that film.
And this is from the writer of The Commuter. The writer
Which was
of
fun.
Rampage, classic movies.
Oh, okay, so that explains it. But what I'm saying is, like, so when you get to the house, if you're gonna have this, for the listeners who aren't gonna watch this film or haven't seen it yet, or just don't care about being spoiled for it, the movie takes place almost 99% all in this house, in this one specific location. And rule of thumb is, at least for disco, is if you're going to have a movie that takes place in one specific location that's not just one room, but a location like a house that has multiple rooms, you gotta establish your geography.
Yeah, I
have to establish your geography. That's so paramount.
There is a hallway that she enters in towards the end of the movie, and I'm like, where did this hallway come
exactly.
from?
It's like the Winchester home. It's just changing like as the movie goes along. What the hell?
And then like the daughter climbs up into the ventilation duct, and then there's like this whole little attic area. It's like, shit, well, look at this.
Yeah, so, but, and again, if you have a movie, every movie can be this, but you go back to the classics, like Die Hard. Like Die Hard, very smartly, is as you're introducing Bruce Willis to the building, and John McClane to the building, he's our gateway into the geography of the Nakatomi Plaza, so that later on, when shit hits the fan and you don't have time to explain where something is in relation to something else, the audience, we kind of keyed into that already, because the geography is laid out for us ahead of time. And this film, I think, could have done that with, one of those shots where the kid's running through the house when he first comes in.
They could have done that with the fucking drone shot.
The drone shot?
Man, the drone. There's the bad. I really don't like how cinema are incorporating drones into their films these days. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
You mean a camera drone shot?
Yeah.
No. Like
the kid has a drone.
There's an actual.
Well, I'm sorry, not the kid.
I guess
Grandpa has a drone, which I'm like, why is Grandpa using a drone?
A drone with a camera on it.
Maybe he's hip. Okay. But then outside of that, like, I didn't find the villains particularly compelling at all.
Have you ever tried to drive one of those drones? Those like tiny
Yes,
little ones?
it's not.
Yeah. Like Gabrielle, you just
She
picks up that
uses
remote, like,
it. Yeah, like,
no problem.
okay.
I was like, yeah, you're not even going to get that off the floor, lady.
All right, that's that XCIA
She's highly
background.
capable.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Not like Brad, because I've tried to fly one of those back in my Barnes & Noble days during the Maker Faire, and it was a crime scene.
That shit's hard. But it's yeah. So that and then the villains. I didn't find the villains too particularly. It's that cliche. There's one guy in the group who is not sure if he should be doing this or this isn't what he signed up for. Like there's that guy in the group. And then there's the one guy in the group who's unhinged and he could possibly make everything go south.
There's one guy who's like, I don't want to kill anybody. And then the other guy's like, I want to kill everybody.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, do something different. Like,
I would have loved it if the blonde hair guy really kind of actively tried to protect the kids instead of just being like, hey, guys.
I thought that's what we were going to see from Frosted Tips, but didn't happen.
No.
Talking about ugly. Are we there yet?
All right, we're there. Let's do ugly, Lisa. Start it off.
I think the heartbreak of automatic blinds is ugly. I can't believe they pulled that shit twice too, where they're like, oh no, and then they're like scrunching down behind the automatic. It's in the trailer. That's how much in love they are with this move. They're like, you want to see your kids? Too bad.
Yeah.
And then like her scrunching down. I thought that was ugly. I'll think of more things. I thought that the Frosted Tips, that look is out. The bleach blonde, it's out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Sam.
Sam. But like it's...
She murdered Sam. She knocked his ass off the roof, right?
So that's my ugly, right?
Oh, yeah, the bone.
There's a shot of Sam dead with his neck broken, and you can see this like chunky little piece of bone in his neck.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
I missed that.
because it's not like penetrating his neck, but you can just see where like the bone is pushing up against the skin from inside his throat.
It was a nice little detail.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this movie has not been this gross until this moment.
Well, I was in the far right on the second row, and that screen was like there was no black; it was gray. So the screen wasn't calibrated good. So I didn't see that detail. That probably would have been my ugly too had I seen it. My ugly was.
Don't you see Billy Borg?
I guess the dude. What's the crazy guy? Duncan. Like his character. Like
there's
his
no way that guy
performance,
would
like,
be named Duncan too. Like who's naming their kids Duncan?
He just didn't. I don't know. Like he just felt out of place. And I get what they were going for, but like you said, Brad, like the script of the film for me, I think was ugly. Like it is a poor script, and I don't know. Like I just feel like that guy also exacerbated that Duncan and his performance.
There was some ugly I'm on the phone acting. You could tell in the beginning of the movie where she's talking to her husband. Like it's clear that they were not actually talking. Like they were like, I can only do the scene on a Tuesday. Oh, I can only record on a Thursday. Oh well, we'll just piece it together.
Yeah.
That was some horrible on the phone acting. Yeah. Ugly.
I just wish that the film would have kind of elevated the subgenre by being a little bit innovative here or there.
Like at the end of the day, I still enjoyed it. I had a good time at it. I'm a sucker for these little siege films. Yeah. I'm never going to watch it again, but I did not hate it. And I liked Gabrielle Union, and I liked Billy Burke, and I liked the kids. And, it passed the time.
I thought it was a fine time at the movies. I look forward to using this for Fistful sometime in the future, and you're going to be like, oh, I totally forgot that movie. But who didn't forget that movie? I didn't. You're welcome.
You're welcome. All right. So, Brian, you see what you missed?
You going to get the Blu-ray?
No.
We did not convince Brian to get the Blu-ray.
Oh. Well, you have Movie Pass, so maybe that's an incentive to go.
For now.
Dun, dun, dun.
Stop. No. Ladies and gentlemen, your mileage may vary. Don't let this I
recommend you see it.
Yeah, don't let this bad and ugly, heavy-ended discussion dissuade you from checking it out. Because, again, Gabrielle Union is great. It's good to see her playing a confident, strong character.
She produced the film, too?
She produced the film. She isn't rescued by a guy. She's rescued by her kids, kind of, sort of.
In fact, like, when a guy shows up, he's dispatched of pretty quickly.
Yeah, she actually
Unlike
has to
the villains that pop up every few seconds, her man is like, I'm down for
Duncan
the
got rolled over. Duncan was squished.
He got hit by a Dodge Ram that big.
Not just hit by it. He was rolled over
It's
by a
called
Dodge
a
Ram.
ram for a reason.
Yeah.
And then
Right?
he like pops up at the end. You're just like, what?
Like T-1000 style. Like, jeez. All right.
He's got a bruise on his forehead.
He's wiry.
I guess. Check it out. There's nothing else in theaters as of right now.
We spoiled the whole film for you, so
Yeah.
I hope the only people listening to this are breaking in fans or people who want to have breaking in conversations. So bring those conversations online.
Yeah.
Bring it to ItModcast. We'll talk breaking in.
Will we?
Yeah.
Oh.
We didn't reveal which kid died.
Oh, we didn't.
So
Brian, do
you
you
have
want to know?
that to look forward to. We'll
Sure.
tell
Can you guess?
Brian
Based
the
off the trailers, can you guess which one? Which one she sacrificed?
Uh,
Because she trades lives.
It's a real Sophie's
boy.
choice.
Damn. What? All right.
You guys know.
He's in for a surprise.
Kids don't
We won't spoil it, ladies and gentlemen. Go watch the movie to find out for yourself.
They're lying to you.
Don't listen to Brad. Brian, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on the
No,
social...
wait. Don't tell them where they can find you. What are you looking forward to this week? I'll tell them where they can find you.
Yes. I thought that's how we did it.
Yeah, that's how we
did it. This week, Deadpool. I guess that comes out.
Are you looking forward to it, or is it that
Damn.
your choice by default? Because it's coming out.
It's coming out.
Okay.
I mean, finishing up Atlanta season 2.
Yeah.
How I do that. Just more a lot of TV I need to catch up on.
Yeah.
But I mean, theatrically, Deadpool 2. I'm looking forward to that film.
That's our next review cast.
Yeah.
I would like you to watch it far enough in advance where someone can tell me if there's any comical vomiting in it.
I can check it out. I'm checking it out Wednesday. So
Okay, perfect.
I mean Thursday.
Thursday
Also
night.
good.
And you can see it Friday, maybe.
Yeah, I'll see it Friday.
Okay. You can find this guy at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. And Sidewalk Siren, what are you looking forward to this week?
I'm looking forward to watching the rest of Evil Genius.
That's what I'm looking forward
It's going
to.
to be amazing.
Yep.
I am looking forward to.
What are you baking? What is Bake Dork looking forward to?
So the next blog that's going to go up is going to be the biscotti. I haven't gotten, because of my migraine week, I haven't written up my biscotti article yet. But my next official bake is a Mary Berry tiramisu cake. Yes. So it is a layer of cake and then like that mascarpone cheese with that coffee and booze and chocolate, and it's in layers, and I need a special pan that I cannot find on Amazon, so I'm gonna have to start hitting the streets, looking for some 7-inch loose bottom square pans that are deep. They have to be deep because I'm building a cake in there. The stress, the baking stress.
I'm ready for it.
It's gonna be so fucking delicious, and I'm like, and part of it is like, what occasion do I have to eat a cake? And you know what?
You don't need.
We have an occasion every Sunday.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yay,
If only I
love
could
it.
get Brian to eat carbs,
He can-
chocolate,
I like chocolate.
coffee flavor,
I don't drink coffee, but if
booze
it's
flavor.
booze is a
cho-
flavor.
Yeah. It's got brandy in it. It's got brandy.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also one of my cousin's names.
Okay, hey, cousin Brandy.
Yeah, she
All
doesn't
right.
listen.
Brad, let me ask you, how come when Lisa was down headache status, migraine status, you didn't LGB it and take notes for her and help write her articles?
Oh, shit.
Because I don't do
You
that.
have to be a good husband like
Yeah, you
LGB
gotta support
was-
me like Marty would.
You're like Marty.
No.
It's RGB.
Oh, yeah, RGB.
Yeah, you know me.
All right.
Okay.
All right, you can find that young lady at Sidewalk Siren and at Bake Dork on Twitter. And she's also at Sidewalk Siren on Letterboxd and Instagram.
Yes.
Brad Gullickson, what are you looking forward to this week, B?
I almost don't want to say it, but hopefully by the time you guys are listening to this episode, I will have talked to Simon Pegg about his film Terminal.
That's his film with Margot Robbie?
Yeah, well, he's in it, and that's what
Oh.
I'm talking to him about in promotion for that film.
Okay.
Hopefully, though, I can steer in some Star Trek and Mission Impossible questions.
Yeah.
So I'm crazy excited about having that conversation.
We didn't even talk about our interview with Issa Lopez for Tigers Are Not Afraid.
I'm excited about that interview coming out eventually.
Because it totally hasn't happened yet.
It's future stuff.
And hopefully this week, though, we'll have our interview up with Andre Gower and Henry McComas of the Wolfman's Got Nards documentary all about the Monster Squad. That's a pretty good conversation. That should be dropping in the middle of the week, Darren.
Yeah, so I'll just put those three. That's three interviews, right? So
Yeah.
I'll just put those out Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Oh, shit. You guys are getting a lot of extra ItMod for free, which reminds me, before you have to stay tuned for Darren's plugs and Brad's plugs, because I'm interrupting, but we need some reviews up on iTunes, guys.
Please?
Please.
Please.
5 stars. It helps the podcast, and we'll read them on the podcast.
I'll take a
And
4.5
give
star, too.
No,
Oh.
don't even joke about that shit.
All
This
right.
is serious.
Sorry.
It's algorithm related.
All right, 5 stars only.
Yeah, so we appreciate your feedback.
Yeah.
Constructive, nothing negative, only positive.
Positive.
We accept your compliments, and we love you, and you're very, very attractive.
Oh, all right.
Putting out those reviews do help us connect with other listeners. So, I mean, they are important for us, and we love our listeners, and you guys have been so kind to us already on iTunes.
Yes.
So you newbies,
Yes.
get hot.
Yes.
I'm talking to you, Kern. Where's your iTunes review?
Yeah, leave some reviews. We'll shout you out on the podcast. If you want to promote yourself on social media, we'll put your name and stuff out there as well. But yeah, let us know how we're doing so we can
With 5 stars.
Yeah, it's
Don't be hilarious and ironically give us less stars. We can't. We're a small operation, and we can't bear it.
Yeah,
so
right.
5 stars.
All right, you can find Mouth Dork at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Tap. Or any other new things you're...
No. That's
All
it.
right. Also, your writings.
Oh, yeah. Every day. Film School Rejects.
Yep, check that out. I am looking forward to Evil Genius, right?
Yes.
That's really the only thing I'm thinking about right now. I know Deadpool's coming out this weekend. Of course, I'm looking forward to that. I have my tickets for that as well. But I literally can't stop thinking about this documentary. I'm genuinely going to watch it tonight.
It's
so
as the Disco Dork would say, this movie is nuts.
It's nuts. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to watch it tonight because I got a feeling that I'm going to want to blitz through all of it. And I got to edit podcast.
4 hours. 4 hours.
What time is it now? I can make it. All right, so that's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. I'm the Disco Dork on all social medias. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time.